Thank you to Billy Kills for his constant support on Patreon. Fynn the Fangbearer versus Omnath Locus of Rage. And I'd like more Deathtouchers, but we'll keep that one. We're on the draw, so there's a chance that we'll get into some more. A 1-mana Deathtoucher would be very nice. Our opponent does not get into a dork or anything. Alright, I'll take a Mirri's Guile here. We'll keep hold of the Wooded Foothills to shuffle some stuff away that we don't care about. They get a creature down in Sakura Tribe Elder. I'll expect them to ramp up to Omnath as quickly as they can. There we've got Bellowing Tangleworm, a Forest, a Rabid Bite. I think we just want to try and get into some more Deathtouchers, so let's draw into the Rabid Bite. And then I want to shuffle the other 2 cards away with the Wooded Foothills. So I think we go for Heir of the Wilds here. That is a 2-power Deathtoucher, so if we get Trample on it with the Primal Surge, then it doesn't matter what creature they have in play, apart from First Strikers, we'll be able to get the 1 damage that is lethal onto them and then put another point through. The ramp continuing for our opponent, and I'm glad we've got the Rabid Bite now because I would like to keep Mirri's Guile and I want to get the big creature out of the way anyway, because I think our opponent's looking better than us at the moment. Road to Return and some lands with no means of shuffling. Might as well just put the Road to Return in our hand then. We could go for the Fetch with this if we're desperate to look at some new cards. That's one option for us. We'll drop a Forest for now. And let's go for the Rabid Bite. Unfortunately, not getting down our commander yet. Really don't think it's all that relevant getting in the damage here, but we'll hit them anyway. And then it's a Blighted Woodland from our opponent, and they have Yavimaya Elder. So the Trample might be relevant here. Loxodon Warhammer is pretty good to draw into. I'm wondering if we want to go Road of Return and shuffle some things away. Don't think we're that bothered about drawing into all these forests. Yeah, let's draw into Loxodon Warhammer here. And then we'll drop a forest. We'll go for Fynn the Fangbearer. And then, worst case scenario, they block here, don't get rid of the Yavimaya Elder, and they don't draw a card. Do we want the Primal Rage? Because we can't play the Wooded Foothills this turn anyway, so I think we go Primal Rage here. And then that makes it trickier for them to block. So even when they block and sacrifice the Yavimaya Elder, we're still going to get the trample damage through here. So just sacrificing it in response, they will draw a card, and they'll get 2 lands into hand. So we know that they will have 6 cards in hand, and we'll know what 2 of them are. And their basics match, as they should, so that'll be more difficult to keep track of them. Let's finally, by turn 4, we want to be getting infect damage on our opponent much sooner than this, but we haven't been able to, unfortunately, so let's swing in and get the first 2 poison counters on our opponent. Now going for Oracle of Muldiah, they'll be able to play additional lands straight off the top, but not with a Steely Resolve on top. That will give creatures of the chosen type Shroud. We've seen all kinds of different creature types here, so I'm guessing that will just be Elemental to keep us away from their Omnath. They play the 2 forests that they went for with the Yavimaya Elder. And then it's good old Scoot Swarm. Luckily, haven't seen the additional land yet. Just a bunch of forests on top. Not having the best of luck here. We've only got 34 lands in the deck, I think, so it's probably going to have to be Road to Return. And we might want to entwine that to get our commander back, so yeah, let's just swing in first and see what happens here. I dare say they just let both of the bits of damage through. They do, so we'll take them up to 6 poison. And with that, we'll go Road to Return, return a permanent card to our hand. We'll go for the Fetch to shuffle that stuff away, because we've got 2 lands on top that we don't care about at the moment. Play that and shuffle, and then we'll go for... Do we want the Plaguemere? Probably should have gone for the Plaguemere on turn 2, but... or do we want Loxodon Warhammer? We can play and equip Loxodon Warhammer next turn, so let's get down the creature. Now there's a Reliquary Tower on top, and luckily they don't get into another land. They've got 4 cards in hand at the moment, but that does trigger the Scoot Swarm, so we're going to have to win pretty quickly here. Some Proliferate would be nice. They had another land in hand, and they can make more landfall with the Blighted Woodland. They might even go for their commander here, going for a Roiling Regrowth instead. And it is a Hull Breach on top. Bunch of Scoot Swarms in play. And they crack the Blighted Woodland for even more Scoot Swarms. And now it's Valakut on top. And I don't know if they have enough mountains. I don't think they can play another land here. I don't know, I've lost track at this point, but maybe they can go for the Valakut. Well, if they can, they didn't go for it. There is a Vines of Vastwood. Sword of Feast and Famine is relevant here. I wonder if we can survive long enough for Sword of Feast and Famine to get us there. I wouldn't mind that Heroic Intervention or Vines of Vastwood either, but we can't draw a card here. So let's go Vines of Vastwood, Heroic Intervention will draw next turn, and Sword of Feast and Famine. Play a land, play the sword, and then equip the sword. We'll put that onto our Fynn the Fangbearer. Maybe should equip it onto the Heir of the Wilds. Our opponent might just have us anyway, actually. I haven't actually counted how many Scoot Swarms they've had, but they've got 10 here alone, so they're probably going wide on us regardless. Let's just go through to attacks. They can't block here. We'll untap our lands, force our opponent to discard a card as well, and we'll put them at 8 poison. Couldn't get into the Proliferate. We were very slow on the uptake, unfortunately. We want to be getting down at turn 1 Deathtouches, really. That would have made all the difference here. So we'll just put protection on our heir, and our opponent is likely getting us next turn. Might as well get down the Loxodon Warhammer. I don't think we could have put Loxodon Warhammer on something and gained enough life for it to be relevant, because I think they've well and truly got us here, especially if they play Valakut into a mountain. Well, there's a Greater Good, so they're not playing a land off the top at least. They discarded the Steely Resolve, by the way, that they drew into previously. Yeah, they've got 35, 36 Scoot Swarms and then the Oracle as well, so they've got us here. I'm assuming they see that they've got us. Yeah, you can right-click and say Attack All on Magic Online. For any of you that play and don't know that, you don't have to click them one by one like that. You can just right-click and Attack All. So, getting overrun with Scoot Swarm yet again, so not an incredible one for us. I don't think that was a great showing, but we still got them to 8 poison, so I think we should try another one and see if we can get through the Scoot Swarm. Fynn the Fangbearer versus Doran the Siege Tower this time. And we've got that turn 1 Deathtoucher and some big spells, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll keep that and just keep our fingers crossed. We're on the draw again, so hopefully we can get into some more cheap Deathtouches. They start off with a Jungle Hollow. Don't care how much life they gain, because we are looking to infect them. That is a Carrion Call, speaking of infect. Let's play out the Moss Viper. And Umezawa's Jitte, probably one of the worst things that we could see. Another forest for us, takes us into Fynn. So hopefully we can just outrace our opponent. Getting 2 infect on them already. They're going to need a creature for the Umezawa's Jitte. They're going to need white mana for their commander as well. That is a Shriekmaw, probably gets rid of Fynn. And it does. So now it's fingers crossed for an Ancient Tomb, a Mana Crypt, something like that to keep the pace up. Golgari Rot Farm from our opponent. They bounced the basics, still haven't seen any white mana from them. And it's just another forest for us. Yeah, we're very, very capable of getting into forests in this deck. Not much point in swinging in for damage. We want to be getting poison on our opponent. We'll just hold back the Deathtoucher in case of some kind of scary haster. There's the white mana. They shock down a Temple Garden and play out Doran, the Siege Tower. That is a Primal Rage, so yeah, maybe we can plus the Snake with the Primal Bellow and make use of the Trample. We'll still lose our creature though if they block. So yeah, we'll just hold him back the Moss Viper here and we'll get down our commander. Now it is noteworthy that Doran affects all creatures, says each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. That means that Fynn is a lot better with Trample. And it's noteworthy that they are coming in at us here, so we'll see if they've got protection from green or anything. They do not, so they lose their Doran. They do get some counters on the Jitte though. They can afford to get down their Doran again next turn. Another land for us, so we're getting up towards the Phyrexian Swarmlord and the Vorinclex at least. In fact, we can start looking at that next turn. Let's swing in with our commander. And I'm going to hold up the Carrion Call here. We take them to 4 Infect. The Carrion Call is instant, so yeah, we probably just do it at the end of their turn. Path to Exile, that feels bad. But we can still make use of the Carrion Call and Vorinclex next turn. And half of the command attacks is paid for with the Path to Exile at least. Our opponent continuing to drop lands over there. They've got a Ghost Quarter now. And that is a Whisperwood Elemental. Haven't seen this card ever played until very recently, so I wonder, as usual, if there's someone who is much more popular than I am, or Magic Online, or Commander in general that has played this, and all of a sudden people realise that it's an okay card. Anyway, they are manifesting the top card of their library. Let's go for the Carrion Call in response. Make a couple of Infectors. And immediately using the Umezawa's Jitte, that's good. And they manifest a card here. So I'm wondering, we probably go Vorinclex and another land for us. A Vorinclex will hold off the Whisperwood Elemental and the Manifest creature if they want to attack with the Jitte. They could lose their Whisperwood Elemental and then get rid of the Vorinclex with the counters on the Jitte. Yeah, so let's crack both of these and go for... Actually, we only need to crack one. We can go for Vorinclex, and we could save it with the Primal Bellow if we want to. Or do we just want to go for the Phyrexian Swarmlord? We'll make a bunch of creatures with that, and we could save that with the Primal Bellow. I think I want to do that instead. Our opponent will have 4 cards in hand by the time it comes around to their turn again. We do have to have the Phyrexian Swarmlord survive until our turn. So equipping that up, I am going to crack this now so that they can't respond to it later on. And they are putting that on the Manifest creature. They can't buff that at all. Yeah, so what we're going to do here is we're going to block. That will get rid of their Manifest creature, and I'm assuming that they are going to -2 onto the Phyrexian Swarmlord, so we'll let them do it twice. And then we'll respond to the last one with the Bellow. So there's one, and there's the last counter. So we buff our creature by 7, and now they're going to have to use some spot removal to get rid of that. But we made them waste their Umezawa's Jitte at least. Knight of the Reliquary, don't particularly care about. Although we might do if they go for Field of the Dead or something. Now equipping that onto the Whisperwood Elemental, manifesting a creature again. And we're going to get a bunch of Infectors here. Now it's a Worm Coil Engine. I think Worm Coil Engine makes it difficult for them, and we can Primal Rage this turn. We want to make it difficult for them to swing in with the Jitte. So let's drop the Worm Coil Engine down. And we'll go for the Primal Rage, ready for Worm Coil Engine potentially swinging in next turn. Because that should be able to shove some damage through, but we'll need the Fynn in play for that. Phyrexian Swarmlord is really slow, but if we can leave it in play for long enough, then we should be able to make it really difficult for our opponent to block all the Infectors. Sol Ring, 2 cards left in hand. And that's Pelakka Worm, a 7/7 with Trample. Draw a card when it dies, gain 7 life when it enters, don't care about their life total. And they do not swing in, so there's no counters on the Umezawa's Jitte. Making more infect creatures. And a Noxious Revival. Don't know if we care about anything. Yeah, we maybe turn in the Worm Coil Engine sideways and grab the Worm Coil Engine back with the Noxious Revival. That's probably what we do here. Unfortunately, haven't been able to get down the Vorinclex yet, because we'd be getting double the counters. Alright, and our opponent scoops to that. How very strange. So, yeah, we don't have it yet by any means. But what we would do there is swing in with the Worm Coil Engine. I'm assuming they chump with... They had a Vamp Shooter there and Ashen Rider there, by the way. I'm assuming they would have chumped with the Vamp Shooter. We get... it would have been 5 points of damage through to them, which would have been turned into 2 points of infect, so we would have put them at 6. Assuming that the Worm Coil Engine dies, we'll get another Deathtoucher and a Lifelinker into play. We go Noxious Revival to draw into the Worm Coil Engine again. I might have gone for Vorinclex next turn to make the Deathtouchers a lot more difficult for them to block with, because if they get down Doran, and we've got 3 damage on the Fynn thanks to Doran, then that, along with the Trample and the Vorinclex, is going to make it near enough impossible. Infect slightly worse in this deck because it is based around damage with Deathtouch. Obviously the 1 point of Deathtouch damage along with Trample doesn't work with Infect, but if we have to rely on Infect like we did here, then obviously it is enough to scare your opponent away. So apologies that came to an abrupt end. I'm tribalkai on the eedi-H channel. Thank you for watching.